So I just gave the guy an estimate. He looks me right in the eye and he says, you know what? I'm going to go with you. You're the highest price, but I'm going with you. And I'm getting proud, I said, man, I'm getting good at this sales stuff, right? And I said, this is a great system. You're really going to be happy with your investment. He goes, no. He said, I'm not buying from you for that. I'm buying from you for that right over there. So yeah, he was like, I'm buying from you for that right over there. And I looked over my corner and he's pointing at my truck. Well, I had bought Grandpa with me on the estimate. My grandfather was in his early 90s, I would say about 91, 92. He passed away at age 94. But I took care of him in his final years and he would ride with me to work. He'd sit in the truck and just sit there and snooze while I would do my estimates. But the customer says, Pete, anybody to take care of his family like you are is going to get my business. He shared some values that I shared, and that was family. Now, here's the key. People are hearing your words when you're doing business, but they are analyzing you for deeper things. I'm going to give you an example. There was a book written back in the 80s, probably the early 80s, by a guy by the name of Tom Brown Jr. Tom Brown Jr. Was famous. He wrote a book called The Tracker, and he wrote a few other books on survival. But the book was based on his ability to track the police, the recreational department. They would utilize him anytime somebody would get lost in the woods, and he would go track them down. Tom Brown Jr.'s male influence wasn't Tom Brown Sr., it was the grandfather of his childhood friend, who was a Native American. He was an Indian, if you will. And the old man would teach the two boys about the wilderness. And he would teach them how to read the land and things of this nature. So Tom would do these, years later, he would do these seminars, and he would bring people in, and he would literally sit them on the ground, and he would section off about a foot square, and he would have them study and analyze and look at every detail in the earth. And you're looking at the earth with some grass, right? Well, evidently, there's a lot more to that. As you looked closer, there were these little insects. It was an entire teeming little society down there of all these different things that were going on. And you could see the natural decay, and as time would wear on, how the earth was affected. Well, the long story was, until you knew the way things looked undisturbed, you didn't really understand what things looked like if they were disturbed. So he could look at the earth with the same 20/20 vision that you and I might have and see things that we couldn't, because he had trained his eye to recognize what was normal and what was abnormal and what had deviated. And which is a really powerful thing. It reminded me of Sherlock Holmes. He could go in and he just see things that were anybody could see if they had eyes to look for these things, but they didn't. And women call this female intuition. Women are great at this, guys. And this is why they can read you like a book, because your facial expressions are demonstrating everything. People will judge you by the very things that you're not even expecting. Like I was judged because I took care of Grandpa. I must be a good person, right? Based in his values. And it's true. I love Grandpa. That's why he was there with me. And, he was just an awesome influence for me. But a lot of times, if we look at the hunter-gatherer days, okay, men, they had to go pursue a moving object, right? Maybe a herd of buffalo or deer or whatever they were hunting, right? And so they were in action, right? Women tended to do the gathering way back then, and so they might travel over this mountain, around this, and across that stream, and they find this big old area of wild berries or something, right? And so they would have to go back and, because they were more frail, they couldn't carry all that stuff, and explain to everybody where this stuff was. And so they became better communicators, was the point. Or men could get what they want through brute force, pressing the issue. The women, being the less strong of the sexes, had to use influence. And she learned to look at his face, and she started realizing that when he was in a certain mindset, the face would consistently change. They call this facial expressions. And she became really masterful at identifying this. She could tell when he was telling the truth. She could tell when he was lying. She could tell when he was angry. She could tell when he was happy. She could tell all of these things. And men can see this too, but not generally, not to the level that women. They just naturally have developed this. Okay, so people will be judging you not on the words that come out of your mouth, not on that slick sales line. They're going to be judging you on deeper things. And here's why. We as a society are groups of cultures, tribes, small groups where our trusted people lie. And even though your customers have learned to smile with you and act like they like you and everything else, and be very courteous, inside they are analyzing you and they are reading you. And if your sales are not at the level that you feel like they should be, or the success, or they're beating you up on your pricing, generally you haven't gotten over that threshold of trust. And there's something inconsistent in the way you're communicating. And so the best way to be a great salesperson is to offer the very best that you can and do the very best work that you possibly can. And so you're sincere. People can recognize this, especially older people who don't say anything. They just smile and thank you very much. We'll think about that price and let you go along your merry way, and you think you're going to get that job and you don't. And then there's the one you were rude to or something, and you're just direct, and you think you're not going to get that job, and they call you. Because it's not about necessarily how much you smile, because anybody can fake that. We've learned, as a society, we've learned to fake that. It's about, are you honest? Are you sincere? And somebody who's direct, a lot of times is much more successful than the smooth talker, right? The smiling and what Grandpa told me one time, he said, I'll never trust a salesman whose teeth don't show when he smiles, based on a bad experience. I'll never forget that one. And he was duped, right? We've all been duped, and people are tired of it. There's a big initiative right now for make that money, right? You too. I started off with as little as $5,000, and now I'm worth 2.5 million. Guys, this is crap, okay? Don't fall for this stuff. Yeah, they do that by manipulating or tricking other people, a lot of people, and I'm not saying that everything's bad out there, but I am saying there's something noble in what you are doing. You're literally making a difference in people's lives, in their health, in their comfort, in their utilities, in all these different factors. You can literally come in and save lives. You know, carbon monoxide detection and electrical dangers and things like this. You're very important. And so what's my point? The point is, if you're really going to be successful in arriving at that level, you, the owner, are going to have to be true to who you are. You're going to have to find out who that is. You're going to have to find out what your values truly are and analyze them, and then compare to what your best customers respond to. Which of those values are they responding to? And what is your why? What is your real reason for doing what you do? Is it to make money? Is it to put my children through college or make sure that they have everything they need? Yeah, but what about that deeper meaning underlying? I mean, you can make money doing just about anything. I think you can move to Alaska and mine for gold, but why do you do this? There's got to be a deeper meaning. And when you start to dial in on that and you learn to communicate the values that are naturally you, along with your true why, which is your natural motivation, and you blend that in with an easy to understand communication style, like the story or something of that nature. What happens is this bypasses the conscious mind, goes right to the subconscious mind. It doesn't matter what their personality type is. It doesn't matter if they're a driver or an influencer or any of the DISC, any of these types of personalities. I mean, that's good to know, but we're not here to manipulate. We're not here to trick people into doing business. I remember back when I worked with one of the manufacturers, the published price book that they delivered for a furnace or an air conditioner with thousands of dollars, right? You may see a condensing unit for $6,000 that you're not even going to pay $800 for, back then. And So why did the manufacturer put those price books out there in that way when it's just basically killing trees, wasting paper? But the reason they did that was if the homeowner ever got, the manufacturer's published pricing, it didn't hurt the contractor's pricing for the installed price, because the homeowner, the end user, most of them don't understand how businesses operate and what costs are associated with that. And that's why they'll look up your capacitor on Amazon and start beating you up over a $300 repair, and because they don't understand those things. And so in a way, it's a little bit of hiding the truth. And so our GP is generally higher on things like equipment replacement or IEQ and things like this, as opposed to a repair where they can look the part up and quickly identify what this costs, right? And so, and even an IQ. But so these are some of the things that have to come into the psychology. Now, if you really want to be successful as a business, you have to get this right in your head, and then you have to put in a process to allow your team to get it right in their heads. Because when you have that flat rate price and they show it to the customer, here's your price. That's one thing, but here's your price, sign right here, right? Now, that's an over-dramatization of a facial expression, but the homeowner can tell when your employees are not behind you. The boss would just sell you a new system. I'll fix it for you, right? We'll do it for this, right? And they will default to what they are comfortable with, who they are. And that's your fault. That's not their fault. You didn't hire bad employees. You hired good employees. What you haven't done is allow them to have the mental shift, the aha moment, the light bulb moment that will get them on board with doing things the way they should be. They are not fully informed. This is your culture. This is training. This is how it's done. We call that the HVAC X Factor. It's part of HVAC greatness. So anyway, just something to think around. Just something to think about. Pete Ramsey here, HVAC Greatness. I'll see you on the next one. You gotta be safe out there. Bye-bye.